I'm going to be retired.
Yeah, if you want to say that, get away from me. Yeah, $100 going out there. If you can. We have like.
I'm free.
Hard to know.
Oh,
I bet.
When I remember, explain to me. Till then. Whoa. You need to order at 4:02 p.m.
Here. Not here.
Here. Caitlin, here. Anthea, here. Joel,
Okay.
I'm here.
Here.
Ariana.
Not here.
Ian.
Here.
Ted.
Here.
Megan. Here. Benjamin.
Here.
Renchi.
Here.
Keandre.
Here.
Aaron.
Not here.
Okay. Ria. Adrian. Here. Jenna.
Not here.
Okay. Jason.
Here.
Nicholas.
Not here.
Kate.
Not here.
Matthew. Here. Daniela. Okay. Matsuko. Here. Eddie. Anish. Gavin.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
Moving on to approval of minutes, can I get a motion to approve minutes off March 13th? Second, moved by Randy, seconded by Caitlin. Seeing none, we'll be moving on to public comment. So there's. Yeah.
He has an active mind of having a therapy dog event tomorrow from 1:30 to 3:30 in the park. So I wanna see some dogs.
Are there any other public comments? Moving on to advisor.
I just want to thank you all for a wonderful quarter. Good luck with your finals, and we will see you back here in spring. So please have a big spring break as well.
Are there any other?
No. Oh, but yeah, if you have not already submitted your scholarship application for your student leader scholarship for winter quarter, I think Isaac sent out the link, right? Yeah, Isaac sent out the link yesterday. So yeah, please get that completed by the end of the day today, so by 10 p.m. at the latest. We can get those processed.
So they were due yesterday, so if they are not in by tonight, some of those distribution, or the items, you will get $0 for, okay? So we need your reflections, we need your feedback, otherwise we can't, do your evaluation. So please get those in by tonight.
Are there any other questions? Moving on to Senate. Are there any Senate? Okay, moving on to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the board of trustees met last Monday on the 11th.
Lots of new courses were approved and some like names were like revised as well with like new stuff. That happened. Paula Norso, one of the employees at the district level, got nominated for the Classified Employee of the Year at the California Community College Chancellor's Office, which was really great. The student health fee is going to increase from $17 to $20 as a result of inflation and to cover the cost of goods, services, supplies, and labor. And 2 academic advisors and 1 faculty and an assistant have been reduced for the list of classified services.
Thank you. Moving on to external shift governance. Are there any external shift governance? Then,
We got met yesterday, and we just went over one thing, which was the second quarter spending report. We have 34 million. That's basically
At the Action Council met today and we talked about figuring out a rubric for a career fair company implementation. Being intentional with who we invite, because that's a border patrol incident from last spring doesn't happen again. We also looked through the equity management plan and reviewed our projects and talked about equity champion awards and the committee's currently looking for nominations for that.
Curriculum met yesterday and we talked about catalog of deadlines, which is due in 8 days. There's about 60 courses left that have to initialize, but courses like Psych 4 or Physics 2C should get there in time. We also read through the ASCCC curriculum presentation and talked about some new changes. Also, they want to know about student opinions on new DASG patterns, especially on the overlap between ethnic study areas and the existing ICS graduation requirements. So if you have any input on that, please let me know, so I can bring it back. Thank you.
are there any other ideas?
Right, yesterday, we approved the emergency request criteria. We decided how we're gonna proceed with like the leftover high requests from fall, and then we just continue to work.
Any others? Okay, I have two. The first one is from Cancer Advisory Council. They met on the 15th and they discussed the Heffron Sanctuary campus policy consideration. They had a legal review presentation. They reviewed the parameters for interactions with federal immigration enforcement officials. This presentation included legislation, including community college limiting assistance to the full extent, as well as not disclosing students' personal information and how community college cannot use their resources to further ISAC. They also discussed AEP guidelines, including guidance and training for interacting with ISAC and responding to their action, as well as sharing current links to the data on immigration status. This discussion also reviewed negative consequences, mostly for funding for school system policy. And lastly, they discussed AP 2410, which was their updated board policy and administration of the procedures, which is the first reading. The second year government report is from Academic Senate. They met on the 18th and discussed whether the event salary allocations. The next board meeting is April 1st. They also passed a resolution on alignment of career fair practices with college missions and values regarding the spring career fair action. So they approved having Academic Senate be committed to working with college administration. There are clear criteria and options to invite students to the career fair. And they also approved the proposal for the committee online learn with one representative from each division. Moving on to internal DASG committee reports. Does anyone have anything to share? Okay, moving on to approval of consent.
Most of the consent calendar. A second.
Moved by Seeing none, we'll move on to the first business item. which is to affirm the central and that advanced DHC Senate. So if you can all come on. I, Lydia Wong, do hereby affirm to serve as a senator on the DMV student government.
I, Jeff, repeated myself and
And then take duties, responsibility, and eligibility related to the legislation.
and maintain all duties, responsibilities, and eligibility related to the position.
I agree to work for the betterment of the DMV student government through the efforts of the Senate.
I agree to work for the betterment of the DASG student government through the efforts of the Senate.
And to uphold all DHC college districts, local, state, and federal acts.
And to uphold all DASG college, district, local, state, and federal acts.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, etc.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, and rules, regulations, etc.
At all times, including but not limited to the DHC code of conduct and FHDA.
At all times, including but not limited to the DASG conduct and FHDA student code of conduct.
Barring unforeseen circumstances, I will serve the entirety of my term.
Barring unforeseen circumstances, I will serve the entirety of my term.
March 20th, 2024 to June 12th, 2024.
March 2024.
Furthermore, I will to the best of my ability promote and extend the value of the student.
Furthermore, I will, to the best of my ability, promote and extend the value and mission of the DASG College.
So for the first business item, this candidate decided to retract their. So unless there are any objections, I will be moving on to the next business item, which is the appeal of the elections committee, which is on Australian. So this item is to hear the candidates, which is L 23, appeal of the elections committee, which is disqualify this candidate and practice. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to hear what the elections committee process and the decision was on this, and then to see if we don't have a chance to her reasoning, and if you would like to make a motion to change the elections committee decision. So Ed or Isaac, do you want to sort of give the reasoning and background for?
So last week, we met in the election certification meeting and processed Cecilia G's complaint, where a lot of complainants showed up and gave testimonies on Cecilia G's violations, specifically where students were voting and assisting where she was assisting students in the voting process. And we came to a conclusion that because of the multiple amounts of evidence presented, it will be safe to consider that a violation had taken place and that we should disqualify this candidate from the elections.
And there's actually two parts to it. So the candidate agreed herself that she did violate the elections code on day one. But after day one, we see substantial evidence that the election code is still continue being violated. And therefore we decided that disqualification is the ideal action.
Okay, Jennifer, would you like Cecilia, would you like to give sort of a statement of why you are appealing, the decision to disqualify your?
So. Before,
Cecilia, go ahead and come to the front.
so I wanna say for the first day of the campaign, even though I am not clear about the rules, but one thing I want to clarify is that I didn't assist any student to vote when they are in the voting homepage. Basically, I only telling them because when you scan the code, you can find out that actually it's directed to my Linktree page, and there's got my introduction, and also the second link is the voting page. So basically, I'm explaining to them which one's supposed to be voting page. So I didn't scroll on anyone's scroll. And also for the second one, the this photos, I am pretty confused by the complainant. I mean, he said I blocked the way of student, and but I take a picture of the MLC building. You can see there's a lot of space over there, and I don't believe me, which is a 5 feet tall person, are able to block any student. And also I do reach out to that person's classmate, and I found witness, which is having exactly the same class and note about that guy, and in the same classroom and appear at the same times could prove that I didn't block any student, and I also didn't assist any student to vote. And also on the evidence they provided, you can see that basically what I'm doing is just holding my poster on my iPad. It is not a voting page, and I am advertising myself and sending them, giving them a presentation. I'm not doing anything violating the rules. And also, I would like everyone to considering about whether those evidence are true or not, because it is obvious that I am being targeted because I mean, I could prove that there are two complaint forms towards me are 100% fake. And I am sure that I'm being targeted because I also got witness that told me the guy who filled the complaint form towards me are also the acquaintance of other candidates. So I hope everyone can consider about that carefully.
So let's say for this, for all three forms, you say the allegations are false and that you did not either help students to vote or were present in the area while.
Yeah, I cannot be 100% sure that I left away, but at least what I can say is I'm trying my best to avoid any violation, because there's a lot of students over there and I'm making a presentation to them. But whenever a student show me their phones and it is in a voting page, I will turn around and I will telling them I am not allowed to assist any student to vote or watching your vote, watch you voting, or present while you're voting.
Okay, I
just have a clarifying question. You said you were presenting your campaign materials to someone.
Yeah.
So you were showing it to them during the election period?
You mean when they're voting?
Well, you just, what I thought I heard you say that you were showing somebody your campaign materials, but then when they had questions about the actual voting, you were showing them where to go. So,
Yeah.
so you were showing them your campaign materials during the voting period. Can they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can do it. Okay, just wanted to.
Yeah, I just holding my campaign material, my poster to advertise myself and giving a presentation, and that's all. Yeah.
But when you were presenting to the various students, were you kind of just going up to them and, can you do that?
As long as they don't, as long as she's not present during the.
The actual voting, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, do either of you in the election committee want to say why you felt you explained to be, substantial.
Well, first of all, we received 3 election complaints form, by the deadline submission. And we can say that not all of the election complaint, not all the students who filed an election complaint, had any direct relationship with the complainers or potential competitors for that position. So that's first. And then the evidence, I feel like, also supported the fact with the testimonials. Which consist of, I believe, 3. It was 3 testimonials towards the violation. Furthermore, there is also, well, I would say that the student also agreed on the fact that there was a violation that happened, at least on the first day. The election committee focused whether complaints have continued to occur after that first day, when the candidate was told to change her behavior. And in which the election committee found there is high likely chance that it was not followed. And then to add on to this, I just want to say that it is not part of election complaints, but we have also received complaints regarding to this same candidate on pressuring the ANSA students to vote for her, as well as offering financial incentives in exchange for votes. So that I feel like should be taken into consideration.
Like, right?
Matthew, is it possible for you to go into more detail about those allegations if we're considering them?
Yes, for more information.
We asked for more information that we have not received.
Oh,
And that, well, that is a serious allegation. And I think that even though a complaint is not issued, it is something that we should consider.
I actually kind of disagree with that. I don't think we should consider it, but it's something that we should just,
Well,
if it's a pattern of behavior, which it is to some degree, but I don't think we should really consider it.
okay, pattern of behavior.
Okay, what we're considering is whether there is sufficient evidence to overturn the election. So Cecilia, do you have any sort of evidence aside from what you have just said to show why we did not violate these rules?
yeah, I do have witness, but I reach out to them and they prefer to talk privacy with maybe one of the member from senator because they want to keep their privacy. They don't want to be present in the public. So I think if it's possible, I would like to maybe better schedule a meeting after the senator meetings or let them to submit a document. And also during my process of finding witness to prove that I didn't violate the rules, there's also one person that I don't personally knows about him before, and then he do submit he read the document, but he didn't he also have clothes right now, so he cannot present right here. But I do have a document and I can send it to the election committee by email, or I'll ask him to send it. The document to prove that he didn't, he also, when he also saw me, during my campaigning and didn't see I violating, yeah.
So he said that he saw you, but was it during the time when the complainer has issued the complaint form?
Oh, so one is the one that saw me while one of them is the witness who saw me during my campaigning, in the, complaint form that state that I violated. He saw what happened and he knows that I didn't block any student or force any student. Because he's, in the same class, of the guy who filled up the complaint form towards me. And also, the another one is, the another one is a guy who saw, I'm not sure whether, he saw me during the time that, the complainant said he saw me violating, but he do submit a document, and I mean, because that's a random guy I just met, and he told me that he saw me campaigning a lot and I didn't violate it, so he just provided a document for my information. Yeah, okay.
We did not receive any documents today, but the board did.
Yeah, but I can tell them because they asked
You
me,
need
they
to-
asked
The
me where
process,
they
the
supposed.
process is that everything was supposed to be submitted by Friday, so anything after this point is not acceptable. It's admissible at this point, so.
At least before this meeting, we don't have any.
Yeah, but the point is that they don't know where to submit it, and also they don't actually knows about that, because one of them was being forced to vote. And so one of the witnesses who provided the document for me I didn't force him to vote, but he's being forced by other candidates to vote, and he didn't know about that, so he feels like he also needs to protect his rights on voting as a voter, and also
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, nothing is admissible after today. You know, the process was laid out, and if you're saying that he didn't know where to go to submit the grievance, clearly, if you have this information, you could have come to the election committee and provided that, and we would have been happy to provide that information. So,
yeah, that's what I hear today, or I can just ask
Well,
them
you
to send it out right
Submit
now.
a complaint form for, why did you tell them to submit it?
Because I didn't know that before.
Like, when. But
Yeah.
as long as you sent it in by this meeting, you should have.
When did you hear about these additional witnesses or complaint forms or whatever?
This Friday.
So you had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and even a large portion of today to let them know, to send it to Ken and Isaac.
No, it's only this Friday, not last Friday, which is.
This one now?
And this Friday hasn't happened yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Monday, I'm so sorry, Monday, this Monday.
Why did you
So,
say?
so you had Monday, or at least part of Monday and yesterday and a large part of today to tell them, please send this information to Isaac and Ted.
And how did you? Mixed up Friday.
But I know the deadline of complaint form was due on, I think, last Monday. So I'm not sure whether the election committee will still admit or will still accept those forms anymore. And actually, they thinking about come over to the meeting today, right here, but they all got final project or classes, so that's why they cannot present today.
Well, we couldn't accept any new complaints after, the deadline before, but we could have, let you know that, if you have additional information, we let everyone know Friday. To, make sure we have it before the session. So yes, we could not accept any new complaint, but we could at least receive, check documentation or whatever for existing complaints that are being discussed at this meeting. So in your case, you're for the complaint against.
Okay, so I do send an email, I think on Monday afternoon, which is also, I think, I saw your reply, about some of my questions on the appeal committee, on whether can I still do a petition or something, to, the election committee. But basically, it only replied to me that the process today be similar to the one we have on Friday. And there's no any other, I asked about there's document or, I wanna draft in a petition.
Right.
But there's didn't give, provided me any information about where I'm supposed to submit it.
Hey, folks, I expect all professional conduct at this point. We are doing an election grievance, so please pay attention.
Okay, this item is only to discuss the concerns, the appeal for one position. So do you have any evidence that you can submit at this time? Now,
Yeah, I discussed about the
can you send it to
documentation.
me if you can, you have it now?
Yeah, sure.
Can you just ask Isaac, like, why did you decide on this qualification? Because to me, it doesn't sound very like a very harsh violation. But, well, I mean, mind you, amount of.
Well, yeah, there are only certain things that are allowed in the election code for our
Oh, do you like?
So that, as far as, actions that can be taken against the candidate for violations. And you have to take into consideration severity, how impactful, violation it could be, and, you know, things like that. So something like this particular instance, you know, could be impacting the vote count and forcing or witnessing or being present when a student is voting is considered a strong violation. So it's come up for years. So that was the only existing punishment or whatever the term would be best here. But that's the only one that really meets severity of the alleged violation. Now, if there's one person perhaps, and one person saying this, one person, you know, that she's saying the other thing, might not have been considered so much, but we do have to look at the totality of the things against the person as well. And multiple people are saying the same things. So then, you know, we just have to go by, if it's clear that this probably did happen, and you know, is this severe, and if so, then which action should be taken? For a severe violation, generally speaking, it's disqualification.
Julia, do you have any evidence that you can share at this moment to support your claim?
Let me see. Or I also have a petition that student proved that I didn't force anyone to vote.
Do you have it now?
Yeah,
This
I
is
have
the
it,
deadline.
I have it right now.
Is that a valid?
Send it to Isaac, Ted, and me at least, and then we'll take a look at what your statement is.
You think that it's possible to verify those who voted at that specific time? Like, if we just checking the box, and then if any of those, voters vote that they were voting on their register, so they basically this is an easy way to verify. if they voted.
I don't believe we have access to the individuals who were voting at that specific time. So I don't think we do. but we do have the list.
I'm not sure when the time is available. in the voting system.
Sent everything over.
Yeah, I'll show you on my laptop, because I didn't print it out.
Can you send it?
Email.
Also, I've got another question, it's that student who signed up the petitions for me, they also they also worry about their privacy because if they clear their receipt of ID. Yeah,
Nothing
yeah, I mean,
related to complaints, it's also on the forms, can be completely anonymous or hidden from the public.
That's the main idea. That's the main idea, but the name should be,
Yeah, at least the names can't be different,
the names can't be,
at least
how, yeah.
what might be shown public. But what you send us should be complete.
I think the witness do need 5 to 10 minutes because he has a final project right now.
But the question was, do you have anything you can submit to us right now? Technically, it should have been here before this meeting started.
Our reason for time.
The complaining value about, I forgot your procedure.
Valid in what way?
Like, for example, from here, I take picture from you and I say, okay, you have someone else under pressure to look, but I'm not listening. But I'm not, like, this is what I perceive from the situation. And like, for someone who's in charge to assess that, what are the procedures to verify this accusation? If that is-
Essentially, the testimony and any documentation given with that testimony. So whatever is completed on the form and stated, and especially documentation, like picture, for example, is what we would look at. There would be nothing else we could do. Ideally, yes, a vote stating it is best, and we did have that in one other case, but, you know, if it was just, again, as I stated earlier, just one person saying this, we would have less validity, you know, saying that you can't be sure it's really what happened. But when we have multiple people stating it, then we have to be considerate and serious about potential obligation, potential infraction.
So I think we're looking at the preponderance of evidence, so, you know, is it more likely than not that this happened? And then pointed out if there was multiple complaints that have come forward. You know, you have to look at the number of complaints, as well as the repetition of the behavior, so.
Candidate or just-
Guys,
Well, yeah, I think the things are, like, so putting out my vote for chat, I'm also candidate, sorry. And I'm playing against her,
Yeah.
right? How would you verify that I'm not doing the matter of the competition?
Well, we do get that happen. Candidates and general students can submit complaints. But again, if it was just the candidate and no one else saying that, again, it would probably not be taken quite as seriously unless there was like some clear documentation also. As multiple complaints from multiple people, but it would be the same thing. Yes, that is a consideration and would take that into consideration, but again, is it just the candidate or just one other student? Or are there multiple submissions, multiple complaints?
Then we took that into consideration. And by the complaint forms that we have received, they're from different people and from different groups. So that's why it's not like, oh, because of maybe someone is mouthing someone, therefore she's getting disqualified. But rather based on different people from different social circles, I would say. And because multiple people who are unrelated to each other said so, therefore, we decided that disqualification is the best act.
Is there any real voter that said, okay, I was forced to vote?
In this instance, no.
Next time.
I think their two witnesses could prove that I didn't force anyone or block any student, right? They are over here.
Okay,
So I have no-
you have 2 minutes to present any witnesses.
Or document.
Are there any witnesses or do you have any documentation?
I do have,
Hey, could you come up here?
sure. I do have a question though. So basically, people complain about Cecilia in a way, right?
That's just one small part
Yes,
of it.
that's right. And there's like a picture of her holding an iPad on a hallway. And I feel like I was on campaign on ballot number 30, and I feel like people are free to go. Right? And also I see like a similar things. I've seen Cecilia campaign all around campus. And she has talked to many different type of people. But I have seen there's only some 2 Chinese people and Maggie as well, right?
Can you repeat that?
So maybe I see some similarity. I feel like it is planned. Because I see a few
Do
Chinese,
you have any evidence for your
No.
claim?
this is like my assumption. This free, you guys are free to think that way, there's no evidence, you guys are free to think anyway, you guys have the right to have your own opinion, this is just my opinion. As a public here, I'm not here as a witness or anything, but this is like my
Okay,
Okay,
You don't
I
have anything
specific,
about this specific case.
Yes, so this like.
okay, I did not ask for a public comment, I asked
Okay.
only for witnesses. So if there are any other witnesses, can
Or
you
documentation.
you have 1 minute to
Yeah,
present that?
but
Are you a witness?
yes, I've seen Cecilia never forcing anyone.
Are,
Yes,
I
that
think
is-
At
you're
that time?
supposed to tell them that you are in the same.
you're
place.
supposed to.
Yeah, they're.
Okay.
that's
Okay,
basically-
I'll
You know
I'll
what?
talk
I
about.
think I'm gonna
I'm
intervene at
just,
this
I'm sorry.
point. I'm gonna ask
Please.
you to, sit down.
Okay,
No, please. I need for you to sit down.
Okay, I'll ask
I
the
think-
question again, thank you very much.
I know we've been generous in trying to, give you time to give us more, additional information. But the process was that everything was supposed to be submitted by Friday. So I think what we have to do at this point is move forward and evaluate, whether or not to remove Cecilia or to keep her on based on what we have right now. Okay, I think that, otherwise we're gonna go in circles. So I would suggest,
we're out of time.
okay, so we need.
Is there a motion to extend time for this item?
Can you explain it?
No,
You're
you're not
only senators,
Only voting members of the
Aaron.
Senate.
I'm also going to extend
by how much?
by 10.
Is there a second? Yeah, it's a second.
I
Okay,
object.
moved by Aaron, seconded by Asia, objected by Jason.
No.
We're gonna-
in any projects that you have.
All right.
This would be.
That's to extend by 10 mil to not.
No,
Is that?
So yes, would be extend, time by 10 minutes, no would be not extend time by 10 minutes.
yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Caitlin, no. Antia, yes. Joel.
No.
Javier,
No,
Ariana. Yeah. Ian.
No.
Ted,
Yes.
Megan. Benjamin.
No.
Renji,
Yes.
Leandre.
No. No.
No. Christopher Blue,
No.
Aaron.
Yes.
Yes. Ria. No. Adrian. Yes. Donna. Yes. Jason.
No.
Nicholas.
No.
Kate. No. Matthew. Yes. Daniela.
Not
Okay. Natsuko. Yes. Eddie.
Yeah.
Anish. David. No. And Chantal.
No.
So 13, yes, and 15.
Okay, so we will not be continuing on with this item and there are no more options to appeal this decision. So this candidate will remain disqualified. Okay, moving on to the next item. This is proposed internal officers and structural changes. So this item is to present, discuss, and possibly approve Senate changes regarding internal officer positions. This current proposal, or one of them, is to eliminate all internal officer vice chair positions and have an internal officer within the committee appointed as the committee vice chair. This item is also to allow approval or removal of any internal officer positions as necessary to allow committees to continue functioning at the same level. So the reasoning behind this proposition being brought up is that currently we have due to some increases in positions, the Senate has been expanded to, I can check the exact number, but I believe it was 32 positions in total and 24 internal officer positions. So to allow Senate to sort of remain effective at its job and to also ensure that all vice chairs are doing their duties. And given that currently most of the only set responsibilities for the vice chair are to take minutes and to step in the role of the chair. This would allow any internal officer within the committee at the beginning of the quarter to be appointed as vice chair. And to share what this would look like. So this is the current structure for next year. You can see we have all our vice chairs. These are 6 positions as well as the 5 committees excluding executive advisory. And with this proposal, we would take out all these vice chair positions and instead just keep internal officers. And for this proposition, any internal officer, such as, for example, the bike program coordinator in the environmental sustainability committee, would take on the role of vice chair, which currently and in the past has been taking the minutes as well as chairing the committee if the chair is not present. Because some committees, currently the vice chairs, they do the work of internal officer positions within the committee. So one proposed addition was to add 1 more senator to marketing to make sure that marketing is still able to function at the same level as this year. So I'd like to open it up to discussions on what people think about it.
Just to add to that, I think finance committee also added 1 budget analyst. So the proposal is to remove.
There are currently only 3 budget analysts.
Okay, never mind.
Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion?
Are we just talking about the first part of the business item, the vice chair right now, and then we'll talk later about the second part? Okay. And then, so what you're saying is that at the beginning of each quarter, someone with an existing position would also be tapped. Okay.
Yeah, so that was what was happening all the years before the restructure. So it could be anyone in the committee as an internal officer who would also take on the responsibilities of this post.
Like Lydia said, that's basically how it was. We didn't really have officers before, but basically one of the senators on the committee, who the chair was okay with, and they volunteered and they could do it, would just basically be appointed as chair. So it's the same thing that was being done before. It would just be, an internal officer who's willing to do it. And again, it's not a whole lot of work for the most part. There might be a couple places, I think, one's related to finance that we'll have to look at. But it would basically should be, at least for this, it could be the same person for the whole year, but, maybe it's being a quarter, the chair was asked if they would like to be vice chair, who can do, take minutes, if necessary, chair a meeting. And that would basically.
And it's not gonna affect this year's structure unless it won't affect this year's structure.
So my question's about vice pay. Currently, do vice chairs make more than regular internal or the same?
No, it's the same as regular senators.
And like per se, well, I don't know why, but I'm the only committee without a vice chair. But it's been going fine, so.
I honestly agree. I don't think, I'm the vice chair myself. I honestly think, for marketing, I don't know if really spoke on marketing, but I think that what Leah said about having another social media officer would be more helpful than having the vice chair, because I pretty much fill that role of being a social media officer as order. So honestly, I'm okay with that. Maybe if anyone else, any other vice chairs have any objections.
But with this structure, it's not really clear who's gonna be chairing if the chair is not.
Well, no, that's what we're talking about. Each quarter, it could be the same person throughout the year, but each quarter, at the beginning of the quarter, the chair would just ask. At, the first committee meeting, I guess, okay, who's willing to be vice chair at least for this quarter? Mostly just be making minutes. If for some reason I can't attend the chair meeting, you would just help with that as well, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah, basically what happens is, well, speaking from experience, you get, well, either if the past vice chair, at least for the year before, if the vice chair were to say, I do not want to do it this quarter, we would have a new internal officer who volunteer for that position. and usually those.
Rita?
I kind of agree. I think like even right now, I'm still doing stuff as event support and the vice stuff, so it's not like that much a responsibility to put on top of the part of the office. And I think it'd be more helpful to have them also have an solution to help them. Is this an action item? Can I make sure?
Yeah. If we want to add the social media officer, do we need two separate actions?
Technically, yes, and that was another question we also had, because we wanted to ask. You know, the social media officer, I was talking to Lydia about this, a different placeholder for now, because we've heard marketing mention a number of different positions that might be helpful for it. So we wanted to hear from marketing. And again, yes, that would be a second motion. So first, is it okay to remove the vice chairs next year? Second, you know, if we do add one position to marketing, what would marketing like that? So I've heard things like the officer, I've heard, I think graphic designer and social media officer again is a possibility, but that's just. So what if a position got added marketing as suggested, what do you think?
I think social media is good. I think it's broad enough that it can like let senators go to, and because we manage so many different platforms, then I think it's nice just to have a general.
I just have a question. Does the title have to change it, or does it have to be just called social media officer for now?
For now, yeah, I mean, all that, you know, that can be changed, that's in the code anyway, not in the bylaws, but yeah, that can be.
So I had a question as well. So Caitlin wants to make a motion right now, because at the end of business item 4, it also says this item is also to allow approval of additions or removals of any other internal officer positions if necessary to allow committees to continue functioning at the same level. So if we're going to be voting on that, we talk about that.
Yeah, but we can do this motion first.
And we can just do the vice chair without.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, any individual business item can have as many motions as necessary to conduct, you know.
Can I
that
ask
business
about
item.
finance specifically, or are we just gonna vote first?
You can.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that there's only 3 budget analysts, so it went from a total of 5 in finance.
2 of them are flea market. They didn't really work on finance stuff much.
I thought there were, no, there's Lisa, there's me, there's Kate, and Aaron, and Ben, that's 5. And now it's 4.
Yeah, because we took away the vice.
Yeah, and one of those 5 right now is the vice chair.
That doesn't impact this year.
Oh, no, I'm just very blunt next year, but
Yeah,
I mean,
and especially in finance, actually. The vice chair in finance has even less to do than the other vice chair. Because of the importance of finance and Senate, we actually have a professional paid person take minutes for those 2 organizations.
Yeah.
Like, I want to share my opinion because as an intern of finance committee, I think if the vice chair position don't have too much to do, I think we can develop, like it will be the room for like future development. So to be honest, I intend to have some plan for this position if I apply for it. So I think if there is room for development, it will be greater for, then we just assume the next vice chair will do the same and just be free. So
All the vice, it's a, you know, if they're gonna be doing something else, then it needs to be, it's not gonna be a vice chair anymore. So keep that in mind, it's not gonna be a vice. Vice chair is a very specific position, and it's really just right now, and I can't think of anything else specific for it, because if it would be more specific, it would be a different position. But vice chair basically takes minutes, and if the chair is unavailable, would chair a meeting. That really happens, and especially in finance, we don't have the vice chair take those minutes anyway.
Things like that.
Can I just ask Eugene, do you think ES meets all like 1 chair and 3?
Yeah, that's gonna be part of the discussion as well, after the vice chair discussion.
Oh,
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the removal of the vice chair internal positions for next year? Be that.
I move to approve the removal of the vice chair position from the end of student government.
Up for next year.
For next year.
Okay, Brinty,
My second.
are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion is passed. Okay.
So now, we need a motion, add a position to marketing, and then, any other discussion and motions as well.
I need to add a social media officer to the.
Isaac.
Second.
Moved by Taylor, seconded by Isaac. Any objections? Seeing none, social media officer is approved for next year.
An addition.
Yeah. Are there any other things people want to discuss regarding structure for next year? Oh, Jason, did you want to? Your.
Yeah, I think you were gonna,
Yeah.
question about ES.
Yeah, I was just asking if ES needs all four, whether it's survive finance, one chair and one ES coordinator and one bike program coordinator.
So I would say if we're getting rid of the vice chair, then yes, we would still need both of the ES coordinators. Then we would have one of them to do the regular coordinator duties and then the other to take up the duties that would have gone to the vice chair, like communicating with the marketing committee, putting in marketing requests, delegating, that's kind of, everybody delegates, but vice chair before did that more. Also like taking the lead on outreach efforts for off-campus development and keeping track of the DASG operational account finances with DASG and finance. And then, managing and overseeing committee requisitions and agreements. Those were all things that the vice chair is supposed to be doing. That now since we don't have vice chair, we still need someone to be doing that. It's more than just taking minutes, at least for ES. So I would really recommend to keep the 3 sessions.
Yeah, so I was just asking, she basically doing the whole ES
Yeah,
program right now all over, then if you just did that, you think that would be enough, what do you need for?
I think that it would be too much.
What was I didn't quite catch your question.
Oh, I was just asking if ES needs 2 ES coordinators.
So yeah, there's no, I'm just right now, I didn't. Okay, yeah, so, one, I'm not really sure that specific set of duties really should have been the vice chair. Like outreach and all that other stuff, that almost sounds like it should have been another internal officer position. So, again, we still have to, approve the code. I think that's later on the agenda today.
Yeah, that's the next thing.
But maybe it's not another ES coordinator, maybe you have one ES coordinator and one ES outreach officer, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that needs to be looked at a little more when we talk about.
Can I have,
Sam,
yes, can I have one question? In like the duties and responsibilities, I see in the finance code for the vice chair of finance, like acts the liaison between the DASG, Senate, finance committee, monitor and inform on the operational account or some stuff like that, so.
Some of those, we did discuss it, and truthfully, at least the monitoring, that operational account and helping, manage it, create a spreadsheet. It makes more sense for it just to be the chair anyway, because they're always supposed to be at the exec meeting as well anyway, but the vice chair is not. They may even have a class at the time of executive meeting and so on, so at least that part, definitely would just be, the chair at the exec meetings. Most of it is just discussing at the beginning of the year, a plan for how to split it up and then keep track. Thank you.
Brinty.
I just have a question for Adrian. So so there's 3 senators below the chair for ES, so there's 2, sorry, I can't read, 2 ES coordinators and 1 bike program coordinator. So how do you envision the 2 ES coordinators to divide the work? Just like this.
When is the ES?
Yeah.
So that's on the next business item anyway. The next business item is to talk about and, amend if necessary and improve the ES code. So we can go into more detail then.
But one thing is the responsibilities for the two ES coordinators.
I mean, currently, it's just like the budget coordinators and a team member coordinators. So again, I don't know if it really should be two ES coordinators. It might need better titles if there are only two people there.
Should we have the ES code before?
No, because one of the, because this was about just the vice chair part.
Okay.
Most, yeah. And then at least if we're gonna talk specifically about ES, we can do that one.
Is it possible to not cut down the budget to three?
It's already, it's pretty bad. I don't know what you're.
Oh, no, but because we're cutting down the vice, right?
Why?
Yeah, because, I mean, right now, we have a total of 6 senators, including you, and we have to divide like a massive amount of interns. And most of us don't want to have had more than 3 interns under their wing. If the numbers stay the same for next year, one senator down would, I don't know, we have to have 4 interns, maybe 5.
In programs, like I know it's not comparable with finance, I guess in some ways, but in programs, like our senators have like 5 to 6 interns each, maybe more, so I think it's doable.
Yeah.
So.
I will say with marketing and programs too, I'd say finance, you do like sprints of like work, but with marketing programs, I think we're working like around the clock too, all the time.
I believe it's still a reasonable. Debate it some more and these out still chime in as well. Seems like a reasonable.
See that?
I mean, no, yeah, I was thinking about it as well. I think that because we're also a committee that, so let's say we have, right now we have 4, right? Let's say with like you, yes, you count. And there's me, then there's Lydia. I do find that sometimes when we have conversations, it's really like 3 to 4 people, maybe. And it's like with Lydia there as well, like not a lot of committees will have that. Like,
I mean, usually with finance, especially I think you mentioned, marketing and programs working all year long. In finance, mostly it's the budget deliberation period, and even that, most of the work of interviews and such is fall quarter. That's when we use the interns the most. After that, we don't have much going on with the interns, especially.
yeah, and something else is that I don't think adding for finance, I get it. Adding a lot of the more senators you have does not necessarily make our job actually better as well. Like we have 10 people in budget deliberations, only 3 people are gonna speak. It's probably not gonna change that much anyways. So I feel like I'm okay with the change. I think 3 is still decent.
Is there any more conversation either on yes coordinator or any other committees? You can also tally up how many internal officers there are. So there are 3 for finance, 2 for SRE, 2 for admin, 3 for ES, and 3 for marketing and 4 for programs. And for admin and SRE, I think I already talked to you 2 before, but both Isaac and Hannah did think 2 internal officers were enough. But unless there are any ads for customers from anyone else. None? Okay. So it looks like we can move on to the next business item, which is the DSG code. This is. I think it always has information this.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna approve it tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why it's.
Which should have said discussing that. Description as well. Yeah, at this point, I guess we can't take action both the description and item type or now. But perhaps we can still have some discussion about the positions, and then we can work on making those updates between now and April. And something like that.
I do think the conversation brought up before about having different tasks for the two PS coordinators is something that we might want to focus on, especially given that this is a new committee and there is going to be 3 senators for this.
And yeah, maybe it's not two ES coordinator, but one ES coordinator, and we can have a specific set of duties and then one, something else. And then you mentioned that, originally you would intended the vice chair to do certain things, but perhaps those would be transferred over to, another position. Divvied up between those two managers or something else.
So is there any more discussion that anyone wants to do here? Adrian?
So what I would recommend that we do is that we change the name of the DSG Vice Chair of Environmental Sustainability to something like what Dennis recommended to like a sustainability outreach officer. Something like that, because it looks like a lot of the stuff we had under there already was communicating with the marketing committee. I would also, maybe we could add in another bullet point that says communicate with the programs committee. To have that be the duties along with making the marketing requests, ensuring that all of the interns have their assigned mentor, helping delegate the tasks, taking the lead on the outreach efforts, keeping track of the DSG operational account finances. So working with finance as well, and then managing and overseeing committee requisitions and agreements. I'd say that is enough duties that it should go to one senator on its own, and we should just change the name of vice chair to an outreach officer.
And then perhaps we reduce it by sustainability coordinator.
Yes. So instead of 2 PS4s, we could have the 4 and an outreach officer.
Actually, I did want to, I'm not sure why duty number 3 is in here, but right now, all the tiers are the ones to ensure all the interns have it. So that might be something to take out. But
Honestly, just my personal opinion, but I think like if SRE or admin can have 2 internal officers, I don't see that big of a need for ES to 3 interns, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys?
What number would you
I
want?
would say 2 be better, because it's not that much tax, really. And I don't know.
Well, that is something to consider. Take that. Next time.
I honestly tend to agree with Isaac. I know, but it might seem a lot, but if Adrian basically went for 2 quarters alone, I think dividing into 3 people should be fair.
What? The point is that Adrian is struggling the whole time.
Yeah, so she wasn't able to do it. Just
Yeah,
one.
they weren't able to do it.
Well, possibly.
Well,
oh,
okay, so you have stated your opinions. Again, it's not discussion action right now. So we'll take that into consideration and hope, we will update the ES code between now and then. Probably we'll still have positions and then we'll see what happens at the next setting.
Oh, I was just, this is a response, so I don't think it works if it's not in discussion, because this isn't a discussion, right? It's not- I don't have anything to say if we're not in discussion.
Well, it's information discussion.
Oh,
We
okay.
can't act.
Oh, I was just responding that I think it was because this year specifically, ES wasn't a committee. Now we've made ES a committee, so Yeah, I think the struggle that was expressed before was that there was no one else to help, and it was just one position, but this is just arguing if we're making it like 3 positions or like 2 positions.
You also have to keep in mind there's also a chair as well, so that actually be 4 positions versus 2 positions. So since the chair is also part of the.
Seeing as the code is going to come back, I do think it's important to address some concerns about the number of PS coordinators. So if anyone wants to speak more on that, I think now would be a good time to bring it up, so the code can come back without.
Yeah, like I said, we definitely should not have 2 now, and then we should look at the rest of these, pick out some things that are, well, move some things to other positions as needed, like chair, and then see if some of the others can also be distributed. Maybe it can be done with just 2 internal officers, maybe it's going to be 3, but we have to just look at that and then see as well what the discussion and action.
So when you look at actually committee duties and responsibilities for it, there's like a variety of things to do. Like, we have to put on at least one event every quarter, right? You have to put on the Earth Week in April. You have to do the committee code, the bike program that we handled. We need at least 1 senator to sit on the campus facilities and somebody on ESAC. And we need someone to handle eco fund. You have to put out a sustainability survey for each event and for DSG as a whole. And I don't know, I feel like there's just a lot of things to do.
I have a question, how is that different from SRE or?
I don't know, I just feel like it's better if that has more people than less, especially since it is now a newer committee. I feel like if we pilot it with the 3 senators, and then it's found next year that, oh, actually, it's not like they could be doing better, you could reduce it, then reduce it. But why make it harder for people who are just starting as a committee?
I just want to ask you, but have you considered that now when you get an intern, you have interns specifically for DS, so they don't handle everything stuff, so you get interns that can only do DS stuff. So,
We already have interns that already.
but now that you're in a community, you probably get more people that specifically.
Yeah, perhaps, again, pilot would be good, but maybe the other way. We look at it with just 2 senators and then see how it goes, especially with a full committee with students knowing it exists and seeing just how many interns we get. Everything right now is a pilot for you, yeah, because it's completely constructed. But perhaps 2 to start is actually better out than 3 to start. And see how it goes.
So we decided we want to work through, so someone can come back with a code, or
I mean, we can't make an official motion, but we should, at least maybe do a strong poll to see who's in there with 2, who's there with 3. And then when I and Adrian will get the code between now and the next, the week before the next Senate meeting, we can, make the appropriate, revisions.
I'll see if you have something.
I mean, if we're gonna just like do the mini vote, it's.
Does anyone want to do any more discussion before we do for the bus?
Sort of a poll, yeah.
Yeah,
I just have something to say. I feel like since it is a pilot program, maybe we could start with 2 internal officers, because in my head, I feel like it's easier to add than to take away. Because if we have 2 people and it's not like, and we know that the work is too much, it's easier to say, hey, we don't have enough people, than to kind of evaluate, oh, this 1 person's not doing their job and it's not enough. So I feel like it's easier to add and take away. And I feel like maybe since it's a pilot program, start with 2. And then when we know that, oh, there's too much work and add on, I think that's the case.
I would agree with that.
And I just want to point out that marketing also has 3 internal officers. And I don't know for sure, but I feel like marketing definitely has a lot more responsibility. And if marketing can handle three, I don't think it's comparable to say ES has the same capacity.
Unless there's more, maybe this will be quick poll.
Okay, can you raise your hand if you're in favor of having two positions in the ES committee that are internal? So this will be one ES coordinator and one fight coordinator. Okay, please keep them up while I count. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, yes, for two, internal officer for ES and. So can you raise your hand if you want 3 internal officers for ES? Okay. Benjamin, you already raised your hand. Yeah. So it's
20 to 40.
who's the fourth?
If you can raise them high, please, if you're in favor of 3.
So 3 for 3 ES.
Sorry.
Oh, Aaron.
4 for, wait, for 3?
Yes.
Aaron, did you vote?
For 3 or for 2? Okay. So Ariana, what was your vote for?
3.
So 3, so 4 for 3 so far. Aaron, do you think it should be 2 or 3 internal officers in ES? 3. So 5 for 3. 21.
Okay. I think there's a majority, so I don't think we need any more discussion on this item. So moving on to public comments. Are there any public comments? Moving on to Aaron.
Yeah, it's not Senate related, yeah. Senators can make public comments as well.
So I just want to, I think, the first thing made me feel like, a little like threatened. Like, I don't know how much we can laugh with that. Like specifically during when we were dealing with the appeal. I just feel like the tone that Lydia used, I felt like she got really aggressive with the public and, Cecilia, with the team. Yeah, I just feel like you represent everyone from DSG. And I don't think, I personally wouldn't want that to be the representation of how DSG acts with the public. I get if it's like taking a little time, that is no excuse losing your cool, especially when you're placed in the position that you're placed in. Yeah, that's just something I want to voice out.
I want to say something. I wanted to add something to what he said regarding just like how we've been, how us as student leaders have been working on the election complaint forms. Because every single one of them, I think we have had a few statements that were just really out of proportion. And again, at the end of the day, we are all students. We as student leaders are students, and the people who are running are also students. And I think that it doesn't become only about like the complaint anymore. It becomes like comments to them about them being students, but then we forget that we're also, students make mistakes.
Also, just one last thing I want to, like I said, like, I feel like during some of the meetings as well, like, there was a lot of outside input from, like, members of the public or, like, interns even, and I feel like it was, like, a lot of it was, like, very directly, like, it was directed at candidates. It felt a little bit like they were trying to, like, interrogate them or humiliate them, even though it's not really the place of, like, guests at a meeting to do that. So I think that, like, I don't know, I feel like going forward, maybe there should be some adjustment to how we handle like planning those meetings and organize it so that there's not just like this public humiliation or like public interrogation of candidates, even if they're in the wrong.
Matthew.
I would also like to say going forward, I don't think it would hurt to be more specific in our elections code about what an appeal looks like. So that any person who's appealing might be able to see what that looks like beforehand.
We'll take a look into the elections code and adjust if necessary.
Yeah. we will be looking at the code and, every committee should be doing this actually. Spring quarter, if you haven't already done it this year, review your codes, look at what needs to be updated. And just remember, it takes 2 Senate meetings for committee codes to get approved, 1 information discussion item, and then the following meeting, a discussion action item. And we will also be looking at the bylaws as well. And that takes 3 Senate meetings for final approval, 2 information discussion items, and then a discussion action. So just keep that in mind when you're planning. And then also, so the last Senate meeting is June 12th, but I think June 5th is the end of the year student leadership recognition gala, so there's no meeting that day. So for codes, the absolute last day to present an information discussion would be May 29th. And then bylaws changes we have to have to the Senate by May 27th.
Don't all procrastinate, because we don't want that meeting to be 5 hours.
Okay, yeah, I also just wanted to add something as well. I think, because usually, for example, there's like introduction of prospective senators before we actually adjourn the meeting. And I feel like a lot of the times too, when people are coming to speak to us, I would say we're like a 5, maybe a 4 out of 10 in terms of like respecting the person who's up there and like just having decorum, whatever. Like when people were saying their names for like prospective senators, like no one was listening, but everyone was like replying, clapping, whatever, like they started clapping, they started clapping also, but it's like you don't even hear the person's name anyway. So I just think we should just try to like also, as much as we can, pay attention, even if you're gonna be like multitasking, still at least like look at the person speaking every now and then, like nod your head, like show them something that like indicates that we're actually like at least somewhat paying attention to what they're saying, because I feel like we haven't been doing that. And again, like as DASG, like if our students are speaking to us, what's the point of us like being DASG if we're not actually at least somewhat listening? So yeah. And it,
Yeah, I would have to agree, especially the last Senate meeting was very noisy at the end of the meeting before adjournment. So, and then today, there were times during the meeting that got very noisy. So this applies to the whole meeting, but we really should be professional and not having side conversations at any time during the meeting. When there's actual business or when we are hearing presentation or prospective senators or any of that. We shouldn't be packing up or any of that until it's actually adjourned.
Yeah, I just wanted to second what Jenna, Hannah, Asia, Aaron, everyone else said here, but I also want to add one more thing about maybe, I know the appeal process, I'm sorry, Ted, and I just know you guys have gone through a lot, but I would also really appreciate it if we had limited input from the advisors. I know that the advisors are definitely there for us to, run the meeting, but I would also like us to just make decisions based on what's in front of us instead of having, outside input.
Ariana. I just wanted to add on to the humiliation bit that Jenna mentioned, because I wasn't personally there for Brian's meeting and the emergency meeting, but I do know that like they were just overall being, you all were just all, whoever was here, just being very rude to him. And like I spoke to him and he struggled so much to just come back to the SRE meetings because he didn't feel comfortable coming here anymore. Like I understand he might have made mistakes in his campaign or whatever, but I don't think that's how we should be treating people that come in that are like trying to join DSG. So I just wanted to say that because that's like a very visible effect about how our actions in here affect students.
Are there any other questions? I don't think the introduction of the buffer for this, because I thought we were because we're going to do that.
Yeah, there's no vacancies right now.
Oh, but what about vice chair admin?
Oh, well, I guess that's okay. So that would still be a vacancy. Do we have any interns that are on?
Yes, but well, we didn't think that there was gonna be today, so Plus, doesn't the meetings recount? Then when the spring quarter starts again, so I don't see a point.
Yeah, it's not,
I don't see, maybe, I don't,
I mean, not approval, but if somebody did come and stay for the whole meeting, who's applying for vice chair of administration, would at least prepare the thing. So if you want to just do an introduction.
Okay. Are there any more public comments? If not, is there anyone interested in running for vice chair at the?
Current member of the committee. Sure.
intern,
Yeah, they have to at least be internal.
Can we do it simultaneously?
they can do something.
Yeah,
Okay, is there anyone who is interested in running for vice chair of administration? If you could. Is there, or no? Okay, are there any advisors?
Well, let me just say a few words. I want to thank all of you for making those comments. I think it was very heartfelt, and I was very pleased that many of you articulated the need for us to really lead with empathy. And we've talked about it, we've talked about it in training. As you know, in theory, it's easier to understand than it is in practice. So I think I've taken all of those comments to heart, and I'm glad that you're also kind of sitting with that as well. I would like to remind folks to show up on time. There's a number of you that showed up late, and it was a little bit distracting. So you have to go get your coffee, but be here on time. Again, a reminder to submit your senator feedback forms by tonight. If you didn't hear it or spiel earlier, you got to get those in tonight before, let's just say midnight, okay? Otherwise, you will get $0 for some of the areas for your stipend or your scholarship money, okay? That scholarship step will be submitted before hopefully the end of this quarter. Malia and Dennis will be working really hard to get that done. So you can anticipate your paycheck sometime in early spring quarter. Okay, so don't count on it right after you come back from spring break, but sometime we'll try to, some of it's out of our control, but we'll do our best to submit that information so that you all can get your paycheck.
I just have a question. What about the paycheck for spring 2022?
What about it?
If I'm not in the country, can I get it?
We'll talk. Why don't we
We'll
talk?
talk about that, because yeah, that is something that I think about transferring students and so on. Because the way financially normally, the students financial aid office, they put the funds into the student account. If there is fees owed or whatever, it gets taken out of that money, and then what's left gets refunded to the student. To their, forget what it's called, Bank Mobile, is that it? Yeah, their Bank Mobile account, fund financial aid. So that's how you will eventually get the funds if there's any left after paying your fees. For spring, we will inquire exactly if that's still accessible to people who have transferred and such. But one thing I do want to say, at least, for winter, everything should be done now, because we had to go through the whole process with financial aid last quarter, so everything should be set. So it should not take as long as last quarter. So as soon as we get it financially, hopefully they'll have it done very early.
Yeah, and I'll have Malia send out a message to all of you when that's done, so then you can anticipate it. Question about it?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. So last time the scholarship went into my fees, but this time I have like an installment there. So would it still go to my fees, or would I receive it?
If there's any, if there's,
You have to ask financially, I think.
it usually, if you have any kind of balance on your account, it would apply for that balance, and then whatever's left is, as I understand, is what you get, so. Okay, so if you don't have any, if you have zero balance, then you would get the full scholarship. The other thing, we need to make an announcement about the election results. Are we gonna be announcing them today?
Yeah, I'll have the election results posted later tonight. I'm just, they're just about ready to post, but after this will be going home. But we, Isaac and Ted, and you need to have this. We do have to have, because so for those that aren't familiar with it, every candidate must get at least 15% of the votes cast to be eligible to get elected. So because there were just so many finance candidates this year for some reason, we did not get enough votes for any of the finance candidates to be elected. So we will have to have just another election just for finance. So we will be, so the two of the candidates will not be back. So the one that was disqualified, and there's another one that has not responded and has not attended orientations or anything. So those two candidates will be dropped off. The remaining candidates we will contact, see if they're still interested in continuing to run. Whoever says yes will be on that ballot for the finance chair position. And we'll try to get that out as early as possible and have the election done
April 5th.
by April 5th, maybe middle of the first week of the quarter, but that's the latest.
But for certification, you do increase them.
Yeah, that we got before.
Yeah, but again, once again, you have to do it again and enforce reserve.
For the finance?
Yeah.
I think so. I think
That's-
at least 3%.
So at least 3% for the candidates. And then
Of the
Did
number
Jennifer-
of votes count, huh?
if Jennifer were not to be disqualified, would that 50% still?
I can't say. But yeah, so Jennifer and one other candidate will be removed from the ballot. The rest of them, we will ask if they're still interested in staying in the election for chair of finance.
And this has to be a general election.
Yeah, it has to be.
There's a question over there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, if the election get extended for the chair, is it gonna be like, again, like the general election for like being like college, or you just can we have an term?
No, it has to be general election for the executive.
Okay, can we therefore decisively conclude that since for the presidential candidates, one candidate only ran as president, so the vice president candidate, because of that also requiring a general election, that candidate was not elected.
You'll see the results later today. All I can say is the only one that we need to have a vote against for is finance. All the other positions are just fine. There's no issues with any of the others. There's over here and over there, two over there.
Got qualified for the general election that we had. Was it something that should qualify for the general election that we're gonna have?
Yes, she won't be on the ballot.
Okay.
So she's gonna be removed, and then there's one other candidate that's disqualified for other reasons, just because they haven't fulfilled their requirements. But the rest of the candidates, at each 6, we will contact them just to make sure they still want to be in the election for finance chair, and then as soon as possible, have that ballot available.
Lydia, there's a-
2 questions on that side.
Yeah, so people who voted in the general elections already, will they be able to vote again?
Yes, it'll be a
Yes.
brand new.
It's a brand new election just for the finance chair. That's it. So the only people on the ballot will be for finance minus the 2 people that we just mentioned. 'Cause
And
they're
anyone says
disqualified.
they don't want to run.
Yeah, so we can't have new people say, I want to run now. No, you're not
This
gonna
is
be on.
just-
the-
Essentially, it's a sort of a runoff election.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Sean Hall.
I could hope that is, even how no candidate reached 50% because of the sheer amount of candidates. Is there anything that you can look into as in like trimming down the election so that maybe during the general elections, like maybe like some candidate got like 1 or 2%, maybe like really low rates that we can.
Oh, that might be a possibility. I've actually been thinking about that, but at least for the moment, we have to contact the 6 that are remaining. See what they say. If we do feel, I mean, honestly, I don't know if we can do that, because there's nothing in the code about that. But I have a feeling some of the candidates would probably drop out anyway, but we'll see. But yeah, the remaining 6 candidates we will contact, see if they are still interested in running in the runoff election. Go from there.
This is a highly unlikely scenario, but what if the 15% wasn't reached the second time.
No.
Yeah.
It's not possible because there's six
We'll
people.
adjust that one when we get to that. So any more questions related to this? All right.
Are they, since like the results are getting posted today, are we still gonna see like the finance candidates and how many votes they all got for this
Yeah,
round?
all the candidates that are left on the ballot, yeah, we'll see the results from everyone. And the ballot, the results sheet also includes the name required. And so, yeah, all the votes.
She's not.
Is it 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks again?
Yeah, we're thinking 2 weeks, although it's because of like spring break and finals. Maybe winter of the first week of quarter, so a couple of extra days.
If the entire Senate agrees and the current finance candidates agree, is this possible to just have a simple majority win? If the entire Senate, like,
I object.
It is unfortunate that this is a serious thing. This is where the students get to elect their representatives. And also those representatives elected by the students themselves are the ones who are going to be deciding on the info. And the code specifies, at least 3% of the population is a vote, submit votes to be eligible, for the whole election to be valid. And then for each candidate, they must get at least 15% of the votes cast. Those are in the election votes. So, yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate, if not impossible, to do that.
Is this the first time the 15% has gone to requirement?
I don't think so. It's been a while, but I think this has happened. But I think part of the thing is, I again, I don't know why it was so popular, but we have 8 people supplying it. I've never seen that.
I think it's great, and we want to see more, in the future as well. So since we're going to find out who the new executives are for next year, them, reach out to them, congratulate everybody, okay? I think this was, for the most part, a well-run election, and so please, extend our congratulatory remarks and encourage them that they can still, participate in meaningful ways, okay?
Yeah, sorry, can you, I'm guessing it's kind of violence brown act, or maybe like conspiracy, but can you just announce who won right now or no?
Well, no, he's gonna announce it, right.
I know a lot of them are here right now and they're just like really.
I know,
I mean, I do know the results. I just haven't been able to post them online, so. I mean, if it's okay, I could just leave the.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes, then? You want to hear it? Okay, go ahead.
All of So I'll just announce the names of the, people, and, you can look at the whole ballot and the vote count and everything online. So for president and vice president, Luca Paliska and Laura Osberg. Chair of Student Rights and Equity, Katya Bravo. Chair of Marketing, Veronica Hahn. Chair of Programs, Phoebe Wang. Chair of Environmental Sustainability, Michi Ozaki. The Chair of the Intercultural Council, Jin Huang. And the Anzac College Student Trustee, Iris Lee.
Dennis, can we know who got the most votes for finance so far? You think?
The highest number of votes by a great margin, but not enough to hit the 15%, was Aditya Sharma.
That's 200 votes.
Doesn't matter. Well, 15% for the number of votes cast in this election was, so the number of votes, I guess we should let that, people know that as well. I think we might have announced it a couple of weeks ago, but just in case. So total ballots submitted was 1,286. 15% of that is 193. It looks like Aditya missed it by exactly 50 votes, 143. And, but no one else even came close to that. Yeah, everyone else was well under 100.
Is pressuring the Senate to elect him a violation of the?
There you go.
Okay, is there any fine where you?
Yeah.